Even if you're only familiar with the big screen version of Hulk, you've seen him do some truly astonishing things. From teaching Loki a lesson he won't forget to going toe-to-toe with Thor, his interactions are always memorable. But we've pulled up some things from Hulk's past that most people have managed to forget. If you think you know the Incredible Hulk, we'll put that to the test. But first, make like a Hulk and smash the subscribe button, then ring that gray bell to join our notification squad for updates. Let's get started. We don't want to keep the Hulk waiting. Baseball. While we remember many of his notable feats of strength, sometimes his smaller accomplishments get passed by. For example, does anybody remember the time when the Hulk played baseball? We aren't kidding. This was an actual storyline that played out in the comic books. We would have pegged him as more of a football player, but that's not how the story worked out. It's a story called The Unnatural, and it starts with something pretty mundane. The Hulk is worrying about his financial difficulties when he's discovered by the manager of a baseball team. In order to earn some quick cash, the Hulk decides to sign up, but there's one giant problem. Naturally, anyone in their right mind would have an issue with the 8-foot-tall Incredible Hulk participating in organized sports. So the solution to this problem was painting his skin to make him look more like a human. Only it definitely doesn't work at all, and he definitely still looks like the Incredible Hulk. Regardless, his plan for financial gain was foiled when his enemy Rhino interrupted the game. We think it's probably best if Hulk sticks with the Avengers instead of pursuing a baseball career. Puppies. In the movies and comic books, we see him constantly trying to control his temper, and thus control the Hulk. Even his friends and fellow Avengers have run into trouble when coming face to face with Bruce Banner's greener half. But in the comic books, we learned there is a quick, easy, and adorable way to turn Hulk back into Bruce Banner. You might think that you should keep puppies as far away from the Hulk as possible, but apparently, you'd be wrong. During Indestructible Hulk Volume 1, we see Hulk return from wiping out a terrifying army of super tarantulas like it was no big deal. But of course, now that the battle is over, those around him would prefer to deal with the much more mild-mannered Bruce Banner. So the brilliant agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. try an unorthodox approach. They release the puppies. Instead of smashing them, Hulk is overjoyed by their presence. Before long, he is overcome with their wagging tails and wet noses and transforms back into Bruce Banner. This is one Hulk fact that we would love to see mentioned on the big screen at some point. Cancelled. We know there have been many great comic book characters who took a while to catch on. When Stan Lee first created the now famous Spider-Man, his boss wasn't very impressed. It might surprise you to know that one of the Avengers was also not appreciated at one time, and that is the Incredible Hulk. When you think about it, Hulk was very different from many superheroes at the time. His peers stood up as shining examples of goodness, while the Hulk is a violent, unpredictable maniac. Audiences had trouble reconciling the placid Bruce Banner with the unstoppable force of the Hulk. He first appeared in The Incredible Hulk #1, after being created by Jack Kirby and Stan Lee. While Hulk can be uncontrollable, he's still a superhero. But that's not how he first appeared. Instead, his first appearances showed him and Bruce Banner in a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde relationship. He lasted only 6 issues before being canceled. But thankfully, we all know his story didn't end there. The character began making guest appearances in other series, including the Fantastic Four and The Amazing Spider-Man. Over time, his character evolved, and audiences warmed up to the Incredible Hulk.
So what do you think? Should I fight this or run with it?
Children. Perhaps more than any other Marvel character, fans have always been curious about the love life of the Incredible Hulk. To be fair, he's frequently portrayed as being incompatible with human life, and his pants never seem to come off, no matter what happens. But it might surprise you to know that the Hulk has in fact managed to reproduce. After forces on Earth deemed Hulk way too much of a threat to remain, they sent him into space, where he ended up on an alien planet. There, he met Kyra, one of the shadow people of Sakaar. Theirs was a classic love story involving marriage, death, and their twin sons emerging from cocoons surrounded by smoldering wreckage. The twins are named Scar and Hero Kala, and they retained powers from both their father and mother. In addition to his 2 sons, Hulk also has a sort of daughter who is named Lyra. In the comics, Thundra was looking for the strongest, toughest male to mate with and happened upon Hulk. After a quick smooch, she snatched some of his DNA and spliced it with her own to create Lyra. She grew up with the strength of both her parents and would eventually take on the mantle of She-Hulk. While we've seen Bruce Banner struggle talking to women in the Avengers franchise, Hulk is doing just fine in the comics. Adamantium. In the Marvel Universe, adamantium has a reputation for being one of the mightiest materials around. Yes, we're talking about the very same adamantium which gives Wolverine his iconic claws. So, unless you're Magneto or the Hulk, good luck fighting against it. Yeah, that's right. There was a time when Hulk proved that even the mighty metal adamantium was no match for him. The Incredible Hulk number 279 started out on such a cheerful note. The inhabitants of Earth were celebrating the fact that it had been a long time since Bruce Banner had hulked out and gone on a terrifying and unstoppable rampage. So they decided to celebrate by building him a 10-ton statue made out of adamantium and placing it in Central Park. The Hulk is granted amnesty for his past misdeeds, and on the surface, everything seems to be going well. But just a few issues later in the Incredible Hulk number 300, Hulk is back to his own tricks. Namely, he's completely out of control and fighting against his own friends. This is one of the many times he takes on the mighty Thor, but this time is particularly insulting. Hulk rips his adamantium statue out of the ground and proceeds to beat Thor with it. Perhaps we should add ungrateful to the list of Hulk's negative personality traits.
Well then, son, you've got a condition.
Ghosts. We know that Banner was subjected to a massive dose of gamma radiation, which led to him transforming into the Hulk. But the rage and anger that feeds Hulk had to exist inside of Banner to begin with. Otherwise, Banner probably would have just perished. Bruce Banner grew up cowering at the hands of his abusive father, Brian Banner. Eventually, things came to a head, and Bruce Banner ended up taking his father's life. He repressed the memory until that fateful day when all the gamma radiation caused it to come flooding back. Although it's easy to see why Marvel decided to keep this out of the movies, it did end up giving Hulk a pretty incredible power. Banner so fears encountering his deceased father that it gave Hulk the power to talk to ghosts and other mystical apparitions. Unfortunately, this included the ghost of the late Brian Banner, whose disposition hadn't improved with death. So while it might be hard to imagine Hulk communing with the spirit realm, it's something he's had to do from time to time in the comics.
Where's Banner? Is he shown up yet?
Banner?
Just keep me posted.
Circus. As a kid, he might have daydreamed about running away to join the circus once or twice when life seemed to be getting stressful. But when he grew up, it's likely that fantasy faded away. Apparently, Hulk never got that memo, because at one point he literally ran away to join the circus. This has got to be even more strange than him joining a baseball team. When the first Avengers movie hit theaters, audiences were thrilled to see some of our favorite heroes on the big screen. When the Avengers number 1 came out, we got to see the Incredible Hulk run away to join the circus. Hey, what can we say? 1963 was a much simpler time. Unfortunately for him, Loki tricked the Avengers into thinking that Hulk was causing trouble, which caused them to come after him. Naturally, Hulk wasn't happy about being attacked by his fellow heroes, so he put on some clown makeup and started working on his act. Unfortunately, Loki truly perpetuated his greatest scheme yet by causing Hulk to lose his job at the circus. The Avengers were relentlessly pursuing him, and for some reason, the clown getup just didn't fool them. Freddie Prinze Jr. There was a period of time in which everyone seemed to be a fan of actor Freddie Prinze Jr. While Hollywood wanted him around, the Incredible Hulk didn't feel the same way. In the comic books, it's not unheard of for celebrities to make appearances, but this one was downright strange. In the Ultimates, we see Freddie Prinze Jr. rubbing elbows with some of our heroes. We also get to hear Nick Fury claim he would want to be portrayed by Samuel L. Jackson if there was ever to be an Ultimates movie. Although this obviously happened in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the rest of the casting discussed in this volume is a little bit off. Matthew McConaughey was slated to play Hank Pym, with Lucy Liu as the Wasp. Johnny Depp would play Iron Man, Brad Pitt would be Captain America, and the role of Hulk would be played by Steve Buscemi. Okay, that last one we wouldn't mind seeing, but let's move on. Freddie Prinze Jr. is on the scene, and he's taking Bruce Banner's ex, Betty Ross, on a date. Needless to say, this earns the ire of the Hulk, who proceeds to go on an all-out rampage. Although he's eventually stopped, he goes on to cause a ton of damage, and most notably of all, tries to devour Freddie Prinze Jr.
Oh, God. I'm gonna throw up in my mask.
Deadpool. Now, Deadpool isn't stupid, and he knows what it means to mess with the Hulk. But at one point, he decided he had enough with the whole living thing and wanted to have Hulk take him out. Step 1 of his plan is to get Hulk good and angry, which he does by using a bunch of black market weapons on him. But the plan goes awry when Deadpool ends up in a daycare filled with frightened children and teachers. Because the teacher is too terrified to move, Deadpool solves the problem by taking everyone hostage and loading them into a school bus. We know that Deadpool has done plenty of despicable things, but hijacking a school school bus full of little kids has to be up there on the list. Ultimately, Hulk manages to get a hold of him and realizes what Deadpool wants. Happy to oblige, the Hulk crushes Deadpool's head until it explodes. Obviously, this isn't the end for Deadpool, but it was a particularly memorable moment.
Tell you what, I got an extra medium. Take it on the house.
Fruit pies. When you think of the Incredible Hulk, you generally think of raw, unbridled power. But for some reason, the Hostess company decided he would be the perfect mascot to help them sell delicious, delicious fruit pies. There were a bunch of these ads, but this one is probably the most memorable. A gang of roller derby disco devils are terrorizing the streets for some reason, which eludes us. These people who are skating around and listening to music are such a menace that the local children can't leave their houses to go acquire some tasty Hostess fruit pies. Luckily for them, and unluckily for the Disco Devils, Hulk is not a fan of loud noises. So he of course responds appropriately by rolling the gang up into cement, undoubtedly crushing all of their bones. But the bright side of this is that now the streets are clear, and the kids can venture out to get their fruit pies. Even the Hulk himself joins in, remarking, "Why can't all humans be nice like Hostess fruit pies?" That's a great question, Hulk. Why can't all humans be nice like Hostess fruit pies?
That sounds pretty good, doesn't it, Scoop?
Whether it happened in the comic books or in the movies, what was your favorite Hulk moment? It can be anything from impressive to absurd. Be sure to tell us in the comments section and then click on the subscribe button for more videos from CBR. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time.